What if I told you Taylor Sheridan might be breaking one of his biggest creative rules, and it all has to do with Kayce Dutton? Yes, the quiet cowboy with a haunted past, played by Luke Grimes, may be getting his own Yellowstone spin-off. Sounds exciting, right? But here's the twist, Sheridan always said he wouldn't do this. So, why now? What changed? And what does this mean for the future of Yellowstone? Let's break it all down. To understand why this potential spin-off is such a big deal, we need to look at the man at the center of it all, Luke Grimes, or as fans know him best, Kayce Dutton. From the very first season of Yellowstone, Kayce has been one of the most important and complicated characters in the show. He's John Dutton's youngest son, a former Navy SEAL, and someone who never really wanted to be part of the family business. He's strong but quiet, loyal but deeply torn. That inner conflict is what made him so relatable to viewers. He's not trying to be a cowboy hero. He just wants to protect his family, stay true to what's right, and keep some peace in a world full of violence and power struggles. Luke Grimes plays this role with a calm intensity that's rare. He doesn't say much, but when he does, it matters. His performance is all about subtle emotions, the way he looks off into the distance, how he tightens his jaw before making a hard decision, or how his voice breaks when he's around Monica or Tate. Those small choices make Kayce feel real. But it's not just acting that puts Luke Grimes in the spotlight. Over the last couple of years, Grimes has started gaining more attention outside the Yellowstone world. He's stepped into the world of country music, and surprisingly, he's good. Really good. His voice has a soft, gravelly sound that fits perfectly with his quiet cowboy image. He's released a few singles and even performed at music festivals. This side of him, the musician, has only made fans love him more. He's become more than just a Yellowstone star. He's becoming a real brand, and brands matter in Hollywood. In a world where streaming platforms are fighting for attention, studios are always on the hunt for marketable faces. Luke Grimes is now one of them. He's not just Kayce anymore. He's someone who can draw in audiences, lead a series, and carry a story on his own. That makes him valuable to Paramount, to Taylor Sheridan, and to the Yellowstone franchise as a whole. So if your Paramount and Yellowstone is wrapping up or at least changing, you're probably asking, who can carry the next chapter? The answer might be right in front of you. The silent, loyal son who's been holding everything together while others fall apart. That's why the idea of a Luke Grimes-led spin-off is such a big deal. It's not just about continuing a story, it's about choosing who tells that story next. And Kayce Dutton, with his complicated past, moral compass, and quiet strength, might be the perfect one to do it. But here's where it gets interesting and a little controversial. Taylor Sheridan has always said he doesn't do spin-offs just to please fans. He creates new stories, not copy-paste versions of what's already worked. He made 1883 and 1923 to tell different stories in the same universe, not just extend Yellowstone forever. That's been his rule. And yet, here we are, hearing serious rumors that Kayce could be at the center of a brand new show. So what's really going on here? Is this just a business move to keep Yellowstone alive? Or is it something more, something personal? Could Sheridan see something in Kayce's character that deserves a deeper dive? A journey that hasn't been told yet. Either way, something big is happening. And it starts with Luke Grimes, the man who, without saying much, might be changing everything. It started as a whisper, the kind that floats around Hollywood late at night. A quiet rumor, nothing confirmed, just a line in a trade report, maybe a tweet from a production insider. But that whisper started to grow. Suddenly, fans were asking, is Luke Grimes getting his own Yellowstone spin-off? And the strange part, no one shut it down. In a universe as carefully guarded as Yellowstone, silence can mean one of two things: it's nonsense, or it's true and just not ready to be announced yet. And this silence, it feels heavy, like something's brewing, behind the scenes. So let's talk about what's out there, the real signs pointing to a Luke Grimes-led spin-off, and why it's not as far-fetched as it once seemed. First, several credible entertainment outlets, think Deadline, Puck News, and even Variety, have hinted that Paramount is quietly developing another Yellowstone project. Not just another prequel, not just another side story, but something that continues the modern-day Dutton legacy. That means someone from the original cast could be stepping into a lead role. And with Kevin Costner exiting and the main series nearing its final chapter, Who's left standing with both narrative weight and audience support? Asterisk exactly. Kayce Dutton. Asterisk it's not just media speculation either. There have been subtle clues dropped in interviews and press junkets. Luke Grimes himself was asked point-blank if he'd continue playing Kayce after Yellowstone ends. His answer? He smiled, paused, and said, "If Taylor writes it, I'll show up." That doesn't sound like a hard no. That sounds like someone who knows more than he's allowed to say. Asterisk. Then there's the scheduling. Yellowstone's final episodes have been delayed and reshuffled multiple times. But during that time, Luke Grimes has stayed oddly close to the brand. He's been promoting the show, staying in the public eye, releasing new music, doing interviews, keeping the momentum alive. If he were walking away from the franchise completely, wouldn't he be distancing himself instead? There's more. Sources close to Paramount have hinted that the network is desperate to hold on to the Yellowstone audience. With Sheridan already stretched between multiple shows, 1883, 1923, Lawman Base Reeves, Lioness, Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, they don't want to build another prequel from scratch. That takes time, money, and a new audience hook. Asterisk, but giving Kayce Dutton his own series. That's instant interest, built-in fanbase, recognizable face, clean launch. And for Paramount, it's a smart move. If they've already lost Costner, they need to keep at least one familiar face on screen. Kayce might be their best shot. Asterisk, now, the rumored working title, if there is one, hasn't leaked. But fans have started calling it things like Why, Marshals or Kayce, the next chapter. That second one feels like a placeholder, sure, but it says something. It shows that people want to see what happens to Kayce after Yellowstone ends. Not in a flashback. Not in a side plot, but as the center of the story. Asterisk, some insiders have even speculated what this show could be about. One theory. Kayce becomes a federal marshal, using his military training and his moral compass to enforce justice in the modern West. Think Yellowstone meets Justified with the same grit, but a different purpose. Others say it could focus on his family. Maybe Monica and Tate are starting over somewhere new, far from the ranch. And Kayce is pulled into a conflict he never saw coming. Asterisk, of course, all of this is still unofficial. No press release, no trailer, no official title. Asterisk, but in the Yellowstone world, stories don't just end, they evolve. And when Taylor Sheridan stays quiet this long, it usually means he's writing. Asterisk, so, is a Luke Grimes spin-off coming? Asterisk, no one's saying yes. But more importantly, no one's saying no. Asterisk, and in this universe, that's the loudest hint of all. Asterisk, Taylor Sheridan doesn't write shows like everyone else. He doesn't follow trends. He sets them. That's part of what made Yellowstone so powerful from the start. No flashy superhero arcs. No forced franchise building, just grounded storytelling. Gritty, emotional, and deeply American. Sheridan writes with a purpose. And he's been very clear about one thing over the years. He doesn't believe in building spin-offs around existing main characters, especially not while their stories are still unfolding. Asterisk, that's the rule. Or at least, it was. Asterisk C. Sheridan has this philosophy. He's said in interviews that spin-offs should never feel like leftovers. He doesn't like the idea of continuing a story just because fans want more. In his mind, a story ends when it's supposed to, not when it becomes profitable. He's compared it to literature. If a character's arc is complete, dragging it out doesn't add meaning, it takes it away. Asterisk. That's why 1883 and 1923 weren't just Yellowstone knockoffs. They were full, standalone series that told different stories in different times, with different characters. They didn't rely on Yellowstone to survive. They expanded the universe without recycling it, and fans respected that. Sheridan wasn't milking the brand. He was building a world with real history and depth. Asterisk, so now, here's the big question. Why would Sheridan break his own rule now? Why would he suddenly consider building a spin-off around Kayce, a character who's still alive, still active, and still central to the main Yellowstone story? The answer might be simpler than it seems, because everything else is changing. First, there's the Kevin Costner situation. It's no secret anymore. Costner is officially done with Yellowstone. And whether it was scheduling conflicts, creative disagreements, or personal priorities, it left a massive hole in the narrative. John Dutton isn't just a character. He is Yellowstone. Without him, the entire balance shifts. And suddenly, Sheridan is forced to rewrite not just the ending of Yellowstone, but what comes next. That's where Kayce comes in. Of all the characters left standing, Kayce is the most morally grounded. He's the one who could take the franchise forward without feeling like a reboot. He's not a villain. He's not a politician. He's not a ghost from the past. He's the soul of the modern West, the kind of man Sheridan likes to write about. Flawed but noble. Violent, but thoughtful. The kind of character who doesn't chase power, but always ends up in the middle of it. Sheridan might be breaking his own rule, but maybe, just maybe, it's because Kayce's story isn't done yet. Maybe he sees something left to explore. Think about it. Kayce has always been caught in the middle between the Dutton name and his own values. Between ranch life and reservation life. Between peace and war. Yellowstone showed us his struggle. But what if a new series shows us his purpose? A spin-off wouldn't have to be a continuation of the Dutton saga. It could be a transformation. Kayce could leave the ranch behind completely. He could become something else, a federal marshal, a protector. A man finally choosing who he wants to be, instead of who he was born to be. And that kind of story. That might be worth breaking a few rules for. There's another layer too. Taylor Sheridan isn't just a writer anymore, he's a brand. He's running a full TV empire, from Tulsa King to Special Ops, Lioness, and with Paramount under pressure to keep subscribers locked in. The rules are bending. Slowly, quietly, Sheridan has more power than ever. But he's also under more pressure than ever to keep this world alive. A Luke Grimes-led series would be the safest and smartest bridge to whatever comes next. And while it might technically go against the rules Sheridan set for himself, it might also be his way of evolving. The world changed, the audience changed, and maybe the rules need to change too. So yes, if this spin-off happens, it would be a major shift in the Sheridan playbook. But maybe, just maybe, it's a calculated risk. A break in the rules. That leads to a brand new frontier. So if Taylor Sheridan really is breaking his own rules, what does that mean for the Yellowstone universe? Is this just the beginning of something new, or the beginning of the end? Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The main Yellowstone series is ending. That much we know. Whether it wraps neatly or leaves some characters in limbo, its time is almost up. Kevin Costner's exit confirmed what many already feared. The Dutton legacy, at least the original one, is closing its gates. But that doesn't mean the world is over. Sheridan's universe is much bigger now, and Kayce Dutton, he might be the key to keeping it alive. If a spin-off centered on Kayce actually moves forward, it signals something major, not just for fans, but for how Sheridan is choosing to tell stories from here on out. This wouldn't be a historical prequel like 1883 or 1923. This would be the first true sequel. Something forward-faced on something that asks, what happens next, after Yellowstone? And that question is important, because Yellowstone has always been about legacy. Not just holding on to land, but holding on to identity, to culture, to a way of life. Kayce is one of the few characters who still seems to care about all of that. He's not driven by money or politics. He's not chasing revenge. He's just trying to live a life that makes sense in a world that's falling apart. A spin-off could follow that journey. It could take us out of Montana and into a new landscape, maybe Texas, maybe New Mexico, maybe somewhere even more unexpected. Imagine Kayce working as a U.S. Marshal, bringing his quiet but firm sense of justice to places that have none. Imagine him trying to raise Tate in a town where the Dutton name means nothing. Imagine Monica building a new community, a new story, with new challenges but the same soul. That's what would make this spin-off different from anything Sheridan has done before. It wouldn't just be about action. It would be about growth, redemption, transformation. And that's why fans are getting excited. Because this isn't just about keeping Yellowstone going, it's about pushing it forward. But there's also risk. What if this spin-off waters down what made Yellowstone special? What if it leans too hard into fan service? Or worse, what if it turns Kayce into something he's not? Just another TV action hero, instead of the thoughtful, quiet force he's always been. These are the questions Sheridan will have to answer if he moves forward. He's known for defying expectations, so if anyone can pull this off without selling out the original vision, it's him. Still, fans should prepare for a new tone, a new structure, and probably a new cast. The Yellowstone world we've known is changing. Rip, Beth, Jamie, they may not follow Kayce into this next chapter. This may not be Yellowstone 2.0. It may be something entirely its own. Asterisk, and maybe, that's the point. Asterisk, because sometimes, to tell a new story, you have to let go of the old one. Asterisk, so, what does this mean for you? Asterisk, if you followed Yellowstone from the beginning, this could be your chance to watch the story evolve, not repeat. If you're new to the universe, this might be the perfect entry point. And if you're a fan of Luke Grimes, you're about to see him take center stage in a way he never has before. Asterisk, we don't have a release date. We don't have a title. We don't even have confirmation. Asterisk, but we do have momentum. And in the world of TV, that's usually the first sign something real is coming. Asterisk, so will, why Marshals, or whatever it ends up being called, become the next chapter in the Yellowstone legacy? Asterisk, only time will tell. But one thing is clear. Taylor Sheridan's playing a new game now. And Kayce Dutton might be holding the winning hand. Asterisk, now it's your turn. What do you think? Should Kayce lead the next spin-off? Should Sheridan stick to his original rules, or is this the right kind of rule to break? Asterisk, drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's next, because in the Yellowstone universe, nothing stays quiet for long. Asterisk, every great story reaches a crossroads, a moment where the past and future meet, and one final decision changes everything. Asterisk, right now, the Yellowstone universe is standing at that exact moment. Behind it, 5 seasons of betrayal, blood, loyalty, and land. Ahead of it, uncertainty, but also possibility. Asterisk, and right in the middle stands Kayce Dutton. Asterisk, think about how far he's come. From a reluctant son hiding from his family legacy, to a man forced to lead, to protect, to survive, through war, through loss, through impossible choices. Kayce didn't ask for power. He didn't chase influence. But maybe that's why he's the only one who deserves it. Asterisk, a spin-off built around him isn't just a chance to continue Yellowstone. It's a chance to redefine it. To move beyond ranch fences and courtroom drama, to explore something deeper, a modern man trying to bring justice to a lawless world, while holding on to his soul in a world that keeps trying to tear it apart. Asterisk, but with that opportunity comes risk. Because there's a reason Sheridan made those rules in the first place. When a story keeps going just because it can, it starts to lose meaning. You stretch it too far, and eventually, it snaps. So now, we're watching something rare in television. Not just a new show, not just another season. We're watching a legacy transfer. We're watching a franchise decide who gets to carry its soul into the future. Asterisk, and maybe it's not about Kayce becoming the next Dutton patriarch. Maybe it's not about power at all. Maybe it's about breaking the cycle. Starting over. Doing something the other Duttons never could. Choosing peace, not war. Choosing purpose, not pride. Asterisk, if that's where Sheridan is going with this, then maybe breaking his own rule isn't a mistake. Maybe it's evolution. Asterisk, because here's the truth. Yellowstone was never just about cowboys and cattle. It was about a way of life, fighting to stay alive. It was about identity, survival, and the painful cost of legacy. Asterisk, now that legacy may live on, not in the hands of John Dutton, but in his quietest son. Asterisk, so, as the sun sets on one chapter, a new dawn may be coming. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the sound of boots on dirt, the slow whistle of wind across the plains, and one man riding into the unknown. Asterisk, not for glory, not for power, but for something worth saving. Asterisk, this isn't just the end of Yellowstone. Asterisk, this could be the beginning of its most personal story yet. Asterisk, so stay ready, because when the dust finally settles, the last Dutton standing might not be the loudest. It might just be the one who always walked alone. Asterisk.